Fly in the frame there. Good evening, everybody. It is Will Scouch here. It's December 22nd, 2025. Merry Christmas. It's the holiday season. I've got my sweater on tonight. Santa Claus having a smoke, having a night. The elves or whoever these people are looking on in disappointment. This is how I like to behave on the Christmas season in my neck of the woods. Smoke cigarettes and pass out in a chair. Anywho, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody, regardless of what you celebrate and how you celebrate, how you choose to do it, and who you do it with. I hope you're all doing well. This will be the last show before Christmas, so I hope you all have a good one. We will be back on Friday. AJ and I are going to do a World Series blast-off show Friday afternoon, evening, and we're going to watch some games and have some fun. So you can come back for that. It'll be a dandy good time. But tonight we are doing our World Junior Preview show. If you are a subscriber to the channel, a subscriber to Scouching.ca, I should say, we are doing a couple of things. Number one, the World Junior Championship Preview post that I do with every team in there, as well as access to the spreadsheet, which we will see. Excuse me. Sorry, I also was delayed tonight because I was eating my dinner. I had to throw a dinner together. I panicked because we didn't have any vegetables to make with our fish. So I threw together a trout linguine style thing, and it was actually really, really, really good. So, in a pinch, we got it. We got there. We came together, took a bit of time, but now I'm full, and it seems, at least temporarily, a little gassy. But anyway, subscribers to Scouching.ca, you got the full preview post there for the World Juniors. Every team covered. You have access to the spreadsheet as well. The spreadsheet you will see tonight, but if you want to follow along live with your favorite teams, the tables are in there. We'll have the playoff tree in there. My MVP picks will be in there, so you can follow along there. It will be made public during the World Juniors, but if you want access to it early, you can sign up and you'll have access to it right now. So anyway, the other thing too, I got today was when I was done that, I was going to give myself the afternoon off. Haha, funny joke. I didn't. I gave myself the job of completely rebuilding all of the data tables and visualization tools in Scouching.ca for all subscribers. So if you are a subscriber, you will see another version updated. I'm switching away from Tableau. It's become extremely cumbersome and annoying and really frustrating to work with. So I am teaching myself a different data visualization platform, and so far so good. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit different, but a little bit better than it used to be. If you are a subscriber and you're used to what those Tableau visualization tools look like, we'll be building some new ones with a different platform, and those will probably be done sometime over the next little while, over the next couple of weeks at most. Depends on how much time I need to get to it. I do have a lot of games I need to track still. But anyway, I am really, really excited. Let's get right into this because the World Juniors this year, I think they're going to be an all-timer. I think this year's tournament is going to be absolutely fantastic. And again, just to plug the write-up again, I don't want to spoil too much off of it, but by and large, I mean, my thoughts are that essentially you've got, on paper, I would say, on paper, the Canadian team probably looking like the best team in the tournament. But then from there until, I'd say, my sixth-ranked team, maybe even, six, I would say, you're looking at like a really, really close group of teams. And then the bottom group, I would say, the next three, I'd say, are also very, very competitive. And at the end, you have Denmark. So without it, I mean, look, I think the thing that needs to be said is that this tournament is completely unpredictable. 2 years in a row, Canada's been knocked out of the quarterfinals by the Czechs. I believe that is it's a statistical possibility to happen 3 years in a row as they are in separate groups once again this year. But I mean, just looking up at the groups right off the top and just seeing what's possible. I mean, the fact that USA, Finland, and Canada are all in the same group is going to be very, very interesting. I think there's a chance that, you could make an argument that any of those teams could beat any of the other teams, honestly, when you look up and down it. I'll say this, too, before we get into the individual teams. Putting this together today, what is this? I just pulled this out of a... Anyway. yeah, like going through these teams and putting together the written work and everything on this tournament, I moved the teams around while writing it more than once, which I can't remember having that happen ever. Putting the write up together, I couldn't believe how hard it was for me. Like, depending on which way you look at a lot of these teams, things could go any direction, honestly, and I can't wait. I honestly, I try to have as much fun as I can during this time of the hockey season, because I know people take it really, really seriously and people think about it a lot and all this stuff. I just enjoy it for what it is, right? You know, these are kids who are, you know, a lot of them, it's the pinnacle of what they'll get to in their life, you know, in terms of visibility and international exposure. For a lot of them, it is just the end. It's the be all end all international tournament right now. You know, you've got even a team like Denmark, right? I would say they unexpectedly earned their way in from last year. I really thought Norway was going to be the team that did it, and maybe if not Norway, Austria might pull it off. But I did not have Denmark very high on my power rankings. So the fact that they've made it in, and regardless of what happens, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. It's such a great tournament to watch. It's great hockey. I even got my family into it, and they're not big hockey people whatsoever. But we went to the New Year's Eve game last year, Canada US, and that wasn't so much fun, but you know, they went and they had fun, I think. And yeah. So if you want, you know, grab a couple clementines, a cup of hot cocoa, and watch a bunch of hockey with your family over the holidays, or just watch hockey on your own, because it's a great tournament. It's a lot of fun. And if you want, and you're a subscriber on Scouching.ca, you get access to our Discord server, and we're not going to be shutting up at all in there while the World Juniors are going on. I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of chatter and ears to the ground, so to speak. But anyway, let's do a team-by-team check here, and I'm also doing it this way so I can farm clips for the channel that I can upload between now and the stream on Friday when the tournament gets going. So, I don't see anything in the chat. We'll get to the Canadian blue line. Canada will be last tonight, but we will get to them. This is not Slovakia versus Czechia. I'm unfortunately not the type of person to blatantly disregard international intellectual property law and rebroadcast hockey games on my YouTube channel where I show my face and share my information. We're not doing that tonight, so unfortunately this is not the place to do it. Where can you watch it without USA Hockey TV? I honestly do not know. I don't think it depends on where you're living too. I don't know, but I don't think TSN is showing it. I don't know. You might have to use creative methods if you catch my drift there. Am I still as high on Alphonse Frey as I was before? I thought you looked enough. I thought you looked good enough in the preseason games or pre-tournament games. Yeah, I mean, so I think Alphonse Frey is a really good example of how you can't just look at point production when you watch these teams and these guys. Like, he's not playing on the power play, I don't believe, very much with Timrå. I think he is, but he's playing a lot. And I think with Frey, the big thing for me was how smart he was at moving the puck and how good he was at using his feet defensively to defend the rush and close gaps and all of those things. And overall, you just sort of get a very good possession defenseman. And so he's one of these guys where I don't think he's gonna be a huge producer. That's not why I had him ranked that high anyway. Like, it wasn't for the offense. It was for the transition game, for the passing vision, for the passing game that he's got, the skating ability. You know, if he grew a little bit, maybe there was even more you could dig into. I mean, he does have offensive tools in his toolkit, but he's not like, you know, like I see him as filling in a lot of gaps that a lot of young defensemen kind of don't. Filling in a lot of gaps that those young defensemen do a lot of the time. And I think Frey, when I've seen him in the SHL, you know, he's a very efficient player. You know, you look at the analytics on him in that league, and that's not an easy league to play in, especially considering I believe he's a rookie in that league. He's one of the best possession players on that team, and he does what you need to do for a defenseman. And so I get the feeling that he's one of these guys where, you know, you got to really pay attention to him as a defenseman to see him really showcase what he's capable of, rather than just looking at the box score and going, oh my God, he only had 1 point in the last 10 games. He must be terrible. So yes, I am still very high on him. I might have had him a little high on my list looking back on it, but I still feel like he is going to be I still feel like he's going to be quite a good NHL defenseman. If it might take a little time, but I think he'll get there. I really believe in him a lot. If the Flames keep in the same area by the end of the season, who do you want them to pick, assuming in their top 5? I mean, Tynan Lawrence, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think Tynan Lawrence is very, very valuable in this year's draft class because he's a very rare type of player in this class where he's just an exceptionally good two-way, a two-way center with good offensive tools and good defensive tools and lots of effort and work rate and everything. Like, he's just a guy I think you win with. As much as I don't like that cliche, I think he's a good example of it. I mean, that's if I would say if you're not drafting first overall, he would be a very, very good target if I'm Calgary, especially considering the types of players that they've already drafted. He's the type that can go out and support guys like a Parekh on defense. He's a guy that can go out and work off of some of the skilled guys they've drafted and be more of a rock up the middle while also being a pretty talented offensive player himself. If not him, I mean, Ivar Stenberg makes a lot of sense too, but I still look at the Calgary system and I look at who they've drafted over the years, and I still see some gaps up the middle of the ice for that prospect pipeline in that system. So hopefully I would maybe, if it isn't Stenberg, I would say I might lean in the direction of Lawrence. But Stenberg, I feel like, is also more of maybe not the same, but doesn't address some pretty serious, like a pretty major gap, a gap that's really difficult to fill. Not that Ivar Stenberg wouldn't be valuable and wouldn't be able to fill a role, quite the opposite. But I'm just saying, like, all things being equal, and let's say you're not drafting top 1, 2, 3 if you're Calgary for whatever reason, a guy like Lawrence definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to toggle over. I hope I choose the right scene here. Is it this one? This one? Yes. Here we go. All right. So, this is the spreadsheet here. Ignored the Germany thing. It broke today and I need to fix it. But we're going to take a look at Denmark first. So, Denmark I would be very, 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 very surprised if this team was not relegated again, as much as it sucks. I don't have the same faith in them as I did with the Kazakhs last year with regards to maybe staying in the tournament for this season. And I really look at this roster and I just did not really know what to write or say or think. A lot of these guys, like, I haven't seen a lot of these guys very much because they are playing in the Metal League, which is not always a huge target of mine. I feel like that's a league where unless you are absolutely dominant, it's a really tough league to project to higher levels. I mean, William Bundgaard was a guy that I watched a few times last year there, and I like him, but again, I feel like, he's playing a middle sixth, maybe third line role with a Swedish junior club, and if that's one of your premier players, then that's a bit of a tough spot. I did actually watch the draft eligible, one of the draft eligibles they brought, Emil Sabi Jakobsen, and I thought he was an intriguing, mobile, decent-sized defenseman who definitely likes to shoot the puck, and I'm not so sure he's going to be a huge player for this team, but he at least piqued my interest a little bit. Oliver Green is another one that I've seen over the last 2 years who's been kind of neat. The rest of them, though, I mean, you're looking at like depth, Danish league players, depth, U20 guys in Sweden. You've got one BCHLer mixed in there, a couple of CHLers. I like Anton Linde. He's been all right when I've seen him, but again, I'm kind of stretching things here. I mean, Mads Kongsbach Kluvo is the guy who will have the eyeballs for sure. He's a Florida Panthers draft pick. He hasn't played a game yet this year. He's been injured, but he will be playing in the tournament. I mean, this is a team that has been outscored in 3 exhibition games before the one they played, I believe, 2 nights ago. They were outscored 16-4 by Austria, Latvia, and Norway. And in the last game warm-up, they played the Swiss and lost 6-1, and I think they had 10 shots or something like that. It was just not a very good. I just don't know about this team. I feel like it's going to be one where you're going to have to, if you're a draft analyst or you want to keep up with the prospects, I feel like a game against the Danes you might just need to forget about. If someone goes out and scores 6 points against them, I mean, cool. But I mean, they've got one goaltender who has very, very limited experience at any level of hockey in terms of professional hockey in Europe or something. And like, as you can see, he's only played 5 games. And if the player is listed as not available, it's because they come from a league that I don't even track. So I manually fill that out eventually, but I haven't gotten around to it for these other 2 goaltenders. I don't know. I mean, the one goaltender, Larson, is 17 years old. So maybe he's going to be the guy that steals the show here and there, but I don't know. Unfortunately, as much as I don't like to, crush a nation, I mean, the fact that they're here is a big surprise to me, and I don't know. Miracles can happen, but they don't strike me as a team likely to find their way into the playoffs this year. So with that, we go over to Latvia. So Latvia is a team that I actually had ranked a little bit higher in the preview post, and I bumped them down a little bit. But I do think that Latvia is going to be a really, really fun team to watch. I mean, I look at this team up and down, and I think that for the first time in a really long time, you have a guy on this team that could very well be one of the top 10 picks in this year's draft, in my opinion, and Albert Smits. I mean, he's playing Liga hockey. He's the only guy on the team playing professional, high-end European hockey. He does not look out of place in that environment. He's been really good with Jukurit, playing a bajillion minutes. He's going to play a bajillion minutes for this team as well. So will Daryl Zuljanskis. I mean, with Albert Smits, he's going to be really, really exciting. He's going to be, I think, a very, very heavily relied upon player that Latvia will be deploying in pretty much any situation. There's all kinds of players on this team that I also think are decent, right? Oliver's Murnieks is coming back, and I haven't been blown away with him in the queue this year, but I see the appeal of a player like that. He's big and plays a sort of heavy, solid game up the middle. Roberts Naudens is going to be a guy, or Naudens, I should say, is coming from, he's returning as well after being a 15-year-old at last year's tournament. He is coming from Shattuck. I think he's been just fine there, especially for a 16-year-old playing prep hockey. He should be, I think, another pretty solid role player for this team. The guy that I'm really curious about seeing is Rudolf Spurskalns. This is a guy who I think he's this, like, I have similar feelings watching Spurskalns or Burskalch as I have with watching a guy like Václav Nestrasil last year around this time of the year. He wasn't the most productive guy in the world, but, they're different types of players, but I think Burskalch is one of these guys who really just projects super, super well. He's pretty young-ish for a player his size. There's still some physical development to go, but pretty good skater for a big guy. He was on this team last year as well. This is his second World Junior. His board work is, I think, excellent for this draft class, and I think that's going to help him out a ton in this draft, in this World Junior. And I would expect him to be a guy that catches some eyeballs because I've really, really liked him. And I just saw him the other day and still really have been a big fan of him. Bruno Osmanis is coming back. Osmanis is coming back. He was really good last year at this tournament, I thought, as well. He didn't play in every game, but he's a guy who I thought would get drafted last year in the NHL draft. He was one of the best, if not the top-rated player that I had on my list that was ranked and not drafted. And I would expect him to be a really major player on this team as well for the scoring and the offense that he brings and the pace of play. Similar things to, I'd say, guys like Christers Flugans. There's another one on here I might be missing. Who is it? What's his name? Flugans and wow, it's slipping my mind. Anyway, Daniel Serkins, that's the one. Those guys will also probably be pretty solid role players for this group as well. The thing is, for me, with a lot of this, is it comes down to goaltending, and in net, I mean, I imagine it's Mikas Vekvanach is going to be the guy playing. And, I mean, he's a decent goaltender for sure. The other two, I mean, Ivan Skufterich has lots and lots of practice facing pucks and cam loops. But, like, compared to some of the other goaltenders in this tournament and the teams ahead of them, I'm just not sure there's as much there that could really likely steal a game. This is a team that's going to be really leaning and relying upon a very small number of players and relying on goaltenders who the results are a bit mixed here and there. So I don't know. They get knocked down a little bit for me, but I mean, for them to be a team that I think this team easily beats a team like Denmark to stay in the tournament if that's what happens. Maybe this is a team that, looking back at the standings, do they steal a game against Canada? I don't think so. I'd be very surprised. Do they steal one against the U.S.? I think Finland is almost... I would be shocked if they stole one from Finland with the roster they're bringing. We'll get to them eventually. The U.S., honestly, if they're going to upset anybody, I mean, it'll be Germany, obviously, but I think the U.S. is a team that we'll get to eventually, but they might have some key areas where maybe a team like Latvia could surprise them and squeak one out. But again, you're going to be relying on a handful of players and your goaltender to do a lot of the work there. So it's a good group for Latvia. I mean, it's great to see some really high-end NHL prospects on this team. And I'm really excited to see what Albert Smits can do here, because watching him in the Finnish under-20 league was hilarious this year. He just basically did whatever he wanted, and he's got the confidence of insert your favorite confident, individual or object or animal in the animal kingdom, because he's that +1. All right, let's move off a team to Germany here. So Germany is also looking, I think, like an underrated team in this year's tournament. I don't think they're going to be huge wave creators, but they do have a couple of things on their side, right? They've got David Lewandowski, NHL draft pick, Edmonton Oilers draft pick, who I think is just a really well-balanced, all-around sort of big power winger with some skill. Gustav Grieva, Elias Schneider, Maxim Schaffer, all forwards who have come to North America and played pretty well, all things considered, when I've poked in on them. Again, not all guys that I certainly would look at as NHL draft picks, but they're solid players. Maxim Schaffer brings really good sort of a good power wingers game. He can play that sort of North American style really effectively, and you could tell that last year watching him in the Dell. Carlos Handel, Montreal Canadiens draft pick, he is also coming back after being there last year. I mean, I got a front row seat to see Germany knock the Kazakhs out of the tournament last year and back into Division 1A this year. And Carlos Handel definitely will be a guy they're going to play a lot. I mean, he is a very mobile offensive defenseman, even though the production isn't necessarily indicative of that. He's got a really good set of feet under him, and I think that if you lean on him, you can probably get away with that for quite a while. Beyond that, I mean, Max Penkin, there's a lot of people, the real draft dorks, will be keeping an eye on him. The Germans, I thought it was funny, do not have anyone eligible for this year's draft class, but they do have one guy eligible for 2027 on it. And Penkin's a pretty good player. I remember him at the Hlinka tournament. He looked pretty solid there. But I'm also not surprised that Germany didn't bring anyone else from this year's Hlinka tournament. Beyond that, I mean, Dustin Wilhoft is David Lewandowski's teammate with Saskatoon, and he's just a barrel of laughs. He's really tiny, but he's really fun, really skilled, and maybe he's a guy that against a team like Latvia could make some waves and score some goals for them or set up some goals, because really for Germany, look, I think on paper, they don't really look like they're on the same tier as Finland, Canada, or the U.S. in that group. That's a really tough group. But I also say that to that as well, like a really good game from a goaltender, and you never know. And I think Germany's actually bringing 3 pretty strong goaltenders. Linus Villard was there last year for them, and I thought he played really well when really called upon for the Germans, all things considered. Leonard Nysa is also like a gargantuan goaltender who was also on the roster last year, but I don't believe he played. But he is also pretty interesting. I checked him out in preparation for this, and playing in the Dell second division, I think he looks really solid there. He's really pushing for a spot on the big boy club with Berlin, I believe. And, he's a guy who has been in North America before. He faced a ton of pucks at the lower levels of Ontario junior hockey. And while he was never drafted, I could see him, if the Veyard is not the option that they go with, being a really good backup. The guy I really am interested in, though, is Lucas Sturman, who was really good at the under-18s last year for the Germans when I watched them. He's a guy who also went to he left Germany last year, and now he plays in the Arctic Circle in Rovaniemi, Finland. And that is not a very good team in the Finnish junior league there. Their goaltenders face, I mean, you can see it there. His average workload is 39 shots a game. That's not easy. And so to have a 91% save percentage with that much practice, I've also thought he's looked pretty darn good watching him there. Obviously, again, facing a lot of pucks. I think Germany has 3 strong goaltenders unexpectedly for this year's tournament. We'll see if they hold up against the onslaught that's ahead of them, but it's a pretty good group. I think they're a good group of players, and I think there's lots to like about the Germans. I don't know if they're going to be a medal contender, but I think this is a team that, like Latvia, I think clears Denmark pretty easily, and at the end of the day, is going to show well. But again, a quarterfinal victory would be really something. I would be very, very surprised, but some interesting players on this team, and if your goaltender can save a game or two, then holy smokes, it could be really fun. All right, let's look at Switzerland. The Swiss are weird, honestly. Like Germany, I think they are bringing strong goaltenders. Christian Kirsch, Elijah Neuenschwander, even Phileas Lechat has had some good games in the past internationally, but Kirsch and Neuenschwander are probably the guys that are going to be playing. I've liked them both. They're both, pretty big athletic goaltenders. Neuenschwander, I maybe would think will be the guy in net because he's probably the most experienced against men, but Kirsch, whatever. If he's the option, then that's another good option as well. The thing about Switzerland is I feel like the struggle will be putting the puck in the net, and historically speaking, that's not the most uncommon thing in my view. The Swiss often bring a pretty solid lineup that, when you watch them play, it's not that there's anything going wrong. It's just that they just can't find a way to get into scoring areas, penetrate the inside of opposing defenses and get into scoring areas and really challenge the opponent. And when I look up and down this roster, I think it maybe is a bit of a better group than last year. A lot of those guys that were there last year and coming back are some of the better players on this group, and they're a year older. Ludwig Johnson is a personal favorite of mine. Leon Mugli will be there. Nicholas Blessing on defense as well has been pretty good when I've checked him out in the National League this year. Danil Ustinkov is, I think, still a very efficient defenseman, even if he hasn't taken the steps that I would like him to take. If he's a guy who can keep his head on straight and just stay efficient, I feel like maybe there's a guy there that could be a solid minutes eater for this team with some good skill too. Basil Sansonen's the Vancouver pick as well. I've always had a soft spot for him as a defense first guy, but again, not a scorer. This is a team that will probably rely on names like Yamiro Reber. They'll rely on guys like Loris Y, perhaps. Robin Nico Antonin for sure will be a guy they rely upon. Lars Steiner is a draft eligible for this year who I really, really like, and I feel like he will be relied upon a lot. But again, he's a player that I still feel like struggles to really attack the inside of the middle of the ice enough for it to really be sort of a dominant World Junior performance. But he is a very, very physical and intense player that definitely could make life miserable for the teams ahead of these guys. Ludwig Johnson, again, I mentioned him earlier, but I think he's a guy that you could easily see. Leon Mugli, I thought was okay at this tournament last year. I thought Johnson was, better, at least offensively. And I feel like there's a lot to dig in with on a guy like Johnson that you could definitely see work at this tournament. Jonah Neuenschwander, again, like Max Penkin, like the guy on Latvia, everyone's going to be looking at him because he's a 16-year-old. He's not eligible till 2027. I've seen a little bit of him in the National League, and he looks like a pretty good power forward too. So if there's going to be a guy who, along with maybe Steiner, if he's really motivated, gets into those scoring areas and really gets into the tough areas of the ice to get into, like Switzerland desperately needs to score goals, then I could see something being possible here with this group. But again, I feel like between Switzerland, Germany, and Latvia, Switzerland and Germany have the advantage in goaltending over Latvia, but I could see any of these 3 teams ending up in the relegation zone and, beating Denmark to stay in. But at the end of the day, I think the Swiss have an intriguing group of defensemen, a really intriguing group of goaltenders, and I think that gives them a little bit of an edge to grind out some wins here and there, but I feel like it's going to be another quarterfinal end of their tournament. All right, I'll take this moment also to thank AJ as well, our producer, because he worked tirelessly today, putting together graphics for the show. And so we got some fancy graphics for all these international teams here. So the first one we're going to look at here is Slovakia. So we've got Slovakian forwards here. There are a couple of NHL players, Jan Hovan, Mikhail Sverchek. Those are all guys who I think are going to be major role players for this team. But the thing about the Slovaks that I really want to talk about is just how young they are. it's pretty incredible that they have been able to, bring such a young group. And in my view, I mean, I don't think they're a medal contender, but next year, very easily they could be. This is a team bringing, let's see, I'm going to count them up here, 4 NHL draft prospects for this year's draft, and I would say that all of them are top 50 quality. Maybe not Tobias Tomic, sorry, not him, but definitely Golier, Horenko, and Adam Nemitz. Tomic is probably a draft candidate, but I haven't been blown away with his hockey this season, unfortunately, with Vancouver. But he has shown well internationally for this team. So the thing that I also really like about this group is why aren't you looping? It's not looping. Why are you not looping? There we go. So yeah, I mean, look, I think this is going to be a team that I think also, I think they're really straddling the line between that Switzerland, Germany, Latvia, and the teams ahead of them. I don't think I had the confidence to put them ahead, and I didn't really think they were looking like a team that would be maybe contending for staying out of relegation. I think they're going to make the quarterfinals and push to try to win games. I think they, guys like Luka Radivojevic, Matus Lisi, who else is on there? Adam Belusco. These are all guys who have played a ton with this team internationally. And I think at the end of the day, we're looking at a team that maybe could make some waves here. But Adam Nemec is, I think, going to show really well here. Same with Horenko. Thomas Pobajal has been good internationally for this team as well. And, look, Michael Sverchek, say what you will. I can Google him, too. He has 0 points in the SHL, 0 points in Hockey Allsvenskan. But I've watched him at both of those levels. He's barely being used in the Swiss Hockey League, which is why they loaned, or Swedish Hockey League, which is why they loaned him out in the first place. And at the end of the day, as well, with the Slovaks, or with Sverchek, I should say, he went to the worst, I think, team in Hockey Allsvenskan, if not the second worst team. And I've watched him there, and they're not using him on the power play. I just feel like this is going to be a nice little confidence boost for him because he has been really, really good at the under 20 level in Sweden this year. So hopefully that's what happens for him this year. But this is a really good team. I don't think they're a medal contender just yet. But again, Michael Pradell, he's capable of saving games. So is Roberto Henriquez. He has also been a guy who can save some games. Alan Lendak has been good this year as well in the USHL. So this is a pretty good team with a lot of really good balance to it. And I think they could make some waves, even if they may not be serious medal contenders. All right. On that note, let's go here. Sorry, I got to keep these organized. What do we got? So next we'll do the checks here. So, all right, the checks. So here are the Czech team guys, right? The Czechs, I think, are a team that I could very easily see win the whole darn thing. Up at the top of the list, you've got Radim Mrtka, a top 10 pick from last year, but you've also got like Václav Nestrasil, first round pick last year. He's had a really good freshman season. Big, rangy, good skill, really great shot. Like, he can score, and he is no slouch physically either. Adam Novotny is a really fun, skilled player as well. I think Novotny is a guy who definitely is going to need to have a really good tournament in my books to put a little bit more weight behind him. He's pretty softly ranked on my list, and I think that he's there's a lot of talent there. I feel like at this tournament he's going to have a lot of fun. I'm just really hoping that he can, he's a guy who when he's on, and when he's not. But I think that he'll have a good time here. Adam Banach has been spectacular with Brantford, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he's been really, really, really good. And I don't know if he's an NHL player, but he should be able to feast in this tournament. Who else have you got here? Their defense group, though, is what I really wanted to highlight because they're the reason I kind of bumped them around a little bit here. Actually, I think I did bump them up to 4th, so they are not the 5th ranked team, so whatever, but I believe they are 4th. And I look up and down their defense group, and I just go, oh yeah, they have this guy. Oh yeah, they have this guy. oh yeah, they have this guy, and a lot of them are really, really good players, right? I mean, you can see in the graphic that they've got how many NHL drafted defensemen here? I mean, right away you've got 2.5 lines of forwards that have been drafted by NHL teams, and another at least one who will definitely be drafted by an NHL team. But then, on the defensive side, yeah, like I'm waiting for the graphic to move on here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 drafted defensemen. Vanacek will get drafted. I think Galvis should have been drafted years ago. I mean, they've got a guy named Mann, so that's also awesome. And I like Matthias Mann, honestly, from what I've seen with Prince Albert. Big, defensive, rangy guy. And then obviously the other one that's on that list as well, you've got you've got Adam Jiricek, who I think is going to be a huge part of this team. I think he's having finally the season that I've been hoping for years, now that he's finally healthy and playing a full season. But like Dravetsky and Fibiger and Galvis, they've all just got so much offensive potential. Vanacek can really shoot the puck. Like I think this is a team that, even if their goaltending is not incredible, if that's the word you want to use, like Orshilak and Stebatak are both pretty good, I would say, decent goaltenders. And when you look at the rest of the roster, I think they've got enough to score at this level. I mean, they've got some big players. I think this is the biggest team on average in the tournament, but they've got some big players. They have some skilled players as well. Peter Sikora is a skilled guy, but they've also got some really good finishers as well. Like, they just bring a little bit of everything. I think this is a team that could threaten for a medal round game and do pretty well there. I think this is a team that, if they do end up playing Canada in the quarterfinals, this is a team that I think could maybe sneak one out against Canada again because of how they're built. So a really, really good team, I think, for the Czechs. And on that note, we'll go back to the 5th ranked team that I had this year. And it might be a little bit of a surprise to people, but I kind of feel this way about these guys. And I this is a team that definitely could win a medal and do really well, but I'm going to throw the U.S. down here. So, look, the forward group for the U.S. is really, really good, right? You've got James Haggins, LJ Mooney, Max Plant, Teddy Stiga, even down the lineup, physical players like McKinney, Spellacy, Van Sagi, even McMorrow, really smart players like Plant and Zemer. They've got a lot of guys who are just really good hockey players, right? There's nothing wrong with that forward group whatsoever. You look at the defense group, it's a little young. They've got Fiddler and Hensler, Reed, Chase Reed is this year's draft. Fiddler, Hensler, last year's draft. Cole Hudson coming back is a huge plus. I think a huge plus, obviously, because he was, the most valuable player in last year's tournament. He was spectacular. But, William Horkoff is a big guy to have up the middle, and he can play on the wing if you need to. He's riding a shooting bender from this season, so maybe he gets the chance to go, to continue that trend as well through this tournament. But I look at the defense group, and that's where things kind of start to fall apart a little bit. You've got Hudson. I think Chase Reed is a good player to bring. Henry Bruce-Stevitz, I haven't been the hugest fan of him, but again, if you want one of those more offensive-leaning defensemen, he can do that. Luke Osborne, I love Luke Osborne. I think he could be a guy that people go, who's that guy? And he ends up really turning some heads because really smart, really efficient player, and I think at his last chance at being at this tournament, I hope he's going to make it count. And I think that based on the guys that are also on this team with him, he could be a big minutes eater if they give him the opportunity, because I think he's a really, really good defenseman. And his teammate Logan Hensler, another really solid defenseman. Blake Fiddler, another really solid defenseman. But a lot of these guys, it's kind of similar to Canada, where it's like, I'm not sure exactly how actually successful defensively this team will be. There's a lot of offense, there's a lot of finesse, there's a lot of skill, but quite a few of these guys I've seen kind of bring a lot more offense than defense at the end of the day. And in net, I think that's the also pretty big problem. You got Hank Kempf in goal. He's probably going to be the guy. And yeah, he's coming from Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has not been very good. He's facing a ton of shots. So an .893 save percentage, whatever. He's facing 33 shots every game. And, but I look at this goaltending group, and I just look at some of the other goaltenders in this tournament, and I, at very best, I would say, see it as on par with some of the other countries in this tournament that probably also will not medal. And all they really need, I think, is like average goaltending at this tournament to go really deep with the offensive group they have, but I just don't know. I just don't know. As much as it pains me, I don't think this is a year where the U.S. repeats. It's possible. This is a team that certainly can score. They've got a good balanced forward group. They've got some electrifying skill. Their defense group has got some good skill as well. They've got some really talented players back there. But when it comes to the best of the best in this tournament, I still look up and down that Czech roster we just looked at and just see a lot of really, really good balanced players all over the place that might be really, really hard to get the upper hand on. So with the states out of the way, let's see the next one here. I believe that the next one is Finland, right? Yes. Finland is the next one. So let's take a look at Finland. So Finland, I mean, look, last year at the U18s was not very good for the Finns, and I don't think that trend will continue this year, right? You have, I think, a really interesting group of forwards and defensemen for this group. You've got Matthias Van Hanen he's a re-entry draft candidate for this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone draft him at this point. He's just so skilled and so much fun to watch. And I think at this tournament he's going to have a lot of fun and just go ham. But beyond that, you've got some really good big players here. Like Emil Hemming is back for, I believe, his third World Junior. Julius Miettinen is back, and he was really good at last year's tournament. He should be able to have a good time here. Rasmus Kumpalainen is another one who nope, Kumpalainen's not on the team. All right, it's time for me to go yell at AJ. No, I thought he was too old. But anyway, besides the point, the rest of the roster looks good. I think overall, like, this team is a team that is something that kind of goes back to the roots of Finnish hockey and finds a way that Finland really knows how to win in terms of winning a hockey game, right? They're very team first. They are very sort of driven and focused and simple, but really effective. And they do it with big, heavy guys who absorb pressure and resist pressure and all of those things that are just really, really, just really, really solid. And so I think those sort of small area passing moments will be really important. They have some good skilled players as well, like Max Westergaard. You've also got Juna Saaralainen. Both. I don't see Oscar Hemming on the roster, to that commenter who just sent that. But the other thing too that I really want to highlight is that the Finns have 2 draft eligibles this year on the team. If you ask me, it should be 3 compared to who they brought, but they've got 2. And Juho Piparinen, I think, could have a real fun coming out party at this tournament. Super, super, super smart, mobile, rangy defenseman who I think, is going to show people a lot of really, really high-end traits, a lot of really impressive moments. He's not the most flashy, spectacular defenseman that I've ever seen, but he doesn't really need to be. There's very, very few moments where when I watch him, I go, what was that? It's very, very rock solid, and he's doing it at a men's level, which is really impressive. So going back to junior is probably going to be a piece of cake for him. And then the other one is Oliver Suvanto, who I described in the write-up as a refrigerator on skates, right? This is a guy who is just humongous, but isn't, he's a little slow, but it doesn't really matter. Like, he just kind of shakes guys off of him. He absorbs pressure really well. He's super, super young. He's barely eligible for this year's draft class. And when I've seen him in Liga, I just think that the sky's the limit. Depending on how much better of a skater he gets, he could go anywhere he wants, honestly, with his game. Super impressive player. I've been a huge, huge fan of him during this season, going back to the Hlinka Gretzky tournament. Really, really good player there. Turn my head, certainly, after a guy who is coming from under 18 hockey in Finland last year. So, you don't see that very often, a guy skipping under 20 hockey in Finland. So overall, though, I think the Finns have a pretty good group. I think they have a bit of skill. Atta Joki is a mobile, skilled guy. I think there's some good stuff here. Oni Kalto was drafted by the Islanders. I feel like that's not true. And if that's not true, yeah, it's not true. Okay, so another lashing for AJ. Whatever. Anyway, but it's a good group, right? Like they've got some good offensive defensemen, Bolias, Kiviharju, Niemanen. Piperinen has a bit of offense in his game, but I wouldn't say that that's like the thing. But in net as well, I should mention this, of course. I can't forget that you've got Petteri Rimpinen coming back, who I think, in my opinion, stole them that tournament last year, got them to the silver medal, gold medal game, but they won a silver medal. I mean, Rimpinen was spectacular last year. Like he seemed like he only got better when the stakes were ramped up, and he just has been a really, really bright spot for this international team for a few years now. And I would expect that trend to continue. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. He's going to get the lion's share of ice time. I imagine, I hope it stays the way it was trending last year, because it's always great seeing great goaltending performances in this tournament. So, really good group. This is a team I think that could somehow manage to work their way to a gold medal. I've learned the lesson of never, ever, 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 ever underestimating the Finnish national team. And I'm certainly not doing that here. So for me, they're in my top 3 for the tournament. And I'm going to be really, really excited to watch these guys, especially if Rimpinen shows what he's capable of, like he did last year. All right, let's move on. We've got, who's number 2 here? Yes. Okay. So coming up next down the pipe here, we got the Swedish people. The Swedish people. So, I mean, Sweden is a team that, I mean, they are a gold medal contender. I know it's a running joke that this is a team that, you know, hasn't gotten to a gold medal game. I think it's like twice in the last 14 years or something like that. They very rarely find their way to a gold medal game. And I mean, it's almost like a broken record at this point. They're kind of the Carolina Hurricanes of the international junior hockey circuit, where, you know, they have, they have the talent and they have the ability, but do they have, they just can't seem to get to that like promised land, the end of the road. They just can't seem to get there. But then they come back the next year and you look at their roster and go, but maybe this is the year. Maybe this will be it, you know? And looking up and down this roster, holy crap. I mean, this is just, it's filled with really good talent. Especially up front. You know, the big question mark will be in net. I mean, Lobe Harenstam, Måns Goose, and Herman Leave are all good goaltenders. They've had solid seasons in Sweden this year, but they don't really seem to be, you know, maybe on the same par, especially as the Canadian goaltenders. But, you know, you look at Petteri Rimpinen, if he plays the way that he's capable of, but even like in Czechia, you know, Oršalák, Stebatak, maybe could be guys that give Sweden's goalies a run for their money. Pradell for sure. You know, there's going to be competition here. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Sweden. Their defense group, luckily, is pretty darn good. You know, Victor Johansson, Viggo Gustafsson, William Håkansson, Alphonse Frey, all really mobile players who can bring it on both sides of the puck, in my opinion. Sasha Boumedienne, Felix Orkvist, really good offensive-leaning players. Yeah, I guess we need to fire AJ, right? Did he leave Frondell off the list here? Because I'm pretty sure I had him in here. He was. Yeah, we need to fire him. He's done. But yeah, I mean, Frondell is in here too. But yeah, I mean, look, I think you look up and down this roster. We'll do this, okay? This will be a little. There's we go. Here we go. This is better. As much as the graphics are very nice, but yes, here's the full roster. I mean, I'm really, really excited to watch all of these guys. Right up front, you've got guys like Victor Eklund in his last tournament here, but Lucas Pettersson, Milton Yastreen, Anton Frondell. Like, no matter which way you slice it, there's a lot of guys that can play center on this team. Eric Nilsson is a personal favorite. Jack Berglund seems to be a guy that they're going to be relying upon quite a lot. Linus Eriksson, like, don't forget about him either. That's a really, really smart player that I think Florida knows what they've got, and I would be very, very curious to see what he can do at this tournament, because he's a very intelligent sort of bottom six style player. You know, but the thing too to note about this team is that they're bringing 4 draft eligibles. They've got Viggo Bjork, they've got William Håkansson, they've got Kasper Justavar Karlsson, and of course Ivar Stenberg. Håkansson, I don't know how much they'll use him, but it would be nice to see him quite a lot, because he checks a lot of boxes. He's big, he's rangy, he's mobile. There's a lot to like, and I think that as a defenseman playing defensive hockey at this level, he should have no problem just eating minute after minute after minute, playing maybe off of a guy like a Sasha Boumediene, maybe letting a guy like that play a little more offensively, a Victor Johansson perhaps, I don't know. But he's a guy who I have always really, really liked. Viggo Bjork, I think Viggo Bjork is going to feast here. I mean, every time he seems to play under 20 hockey, he just looks, or junior hockey, I should say, but also under 20 in Sweden. He's just a step ahead of everyone all the time. Like he's just wild to watch. And I think he's gotten a lot better at the SHL level over the course of this season. Really, really impressive year from him, especially off the puck defensively. There's a lot to like about him. And I think he's a guy who wrongfully is falling down boards. But for me, he's still right up there because I think he's got all the potential in the world to not only grow a little bit from here, but show really well at this tournament. I hope that Gustav Karlsson plays more than like a spare forward would, because as a bottom six guy here, I would be petrified of playing against him if I am like a Canadian team, because as a forechecker, as a sort of off puck focused guy who can get to the net, can score goals, can set plays up, I mean, he's a really scary player to watch sometimes. And so, I think as sort of a, hey kid, go over the boards and be a nightmare for the opponents to handle, he can do that. And I think that can be a very, very valuable thing to have on the roster. I'm a little surprised he's on the team, but it's a really pleasant surprise because I've watched him for the last 2 seasons and have been a really, really big fan. And then, of course, Ivar Stenberg, right? I mean, the narrative obviously, and annoyingly will be comparing Ivar Stenberg at this tournament and Gavin McKenna at this tournament. And, I mean, look, I don't think too much about this tournament in terms of those types of discussions. The way I see it is I've done my homework on both of these guys going into this tournament. I know what to expect out of each of them individually. How it turns out on the other side is more about each of them as an individual, right? If I see stuff out of Stenberg that goes, oh, wow, like there's a dimension to his game that, I hadn't seen before, or he's back up against junior competition and you see an extra level of pace or energy out of him that maybe you think is not there in the SHL, then that can change things. Or, for McKenna, right, there are things about his game that, I have assumptions about and everything, and this is a good opportunity to go, okay, like, maybe there's some transition problems to the NCAA, but at the end of the day, I know what I think, and maybe we need to look back and focus on some different stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about one versus the other. It's more about my own expectations going in of either of them. And with Stenberg, I mean, I think he's an excellent complementary forward, and I mean that in the best way possible. He just does so many things so well, and I think at the end of the day, this is a really, really good team here for Sweden. I mean, up and down the roster, they just have skill, they have speed. Herman Truff is going to be there. We all love Herman Truff. Wait, Herman Truff is going to be there? He's not. No, he's not. All right, so AJ needs to go. I'm just kidding. He worked really hard on this, I swear. So yeah, Frondell will be there. That's going to be sweet. And there's going to be a lot there. The goaltending is the big question mark for me with Sweden, but at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a team that's going to be tough to get a handle on if you're an opponent, and very well could challenge for a gold medal. But famous last words, depending on the year, but I think this is a team more than capable of doing it. And with that, we get to our final team of the tournament. We are going to look at the Canadians. So the Canadians, I mean, look, here's what I'll say. It's the same story every year. Canada will not compete for a gold medal because it's their own fault. Never will it be because of the talent on the team. Last year, they really struggled to score, but from what I remember and from the notes that I looked at last season, it really came down to just the fact they were overhandling pucks. They were trying to do too much with it. They were overskating, overhandling, taking too many risks, and other teams were just picking them apart a little bit. I don't think the Canadian defense group last year was particularly incredible. And I think this year, though, you look up and down this roster, like it's funny in the Discord server. I kind of feel kind of bad because everybody's like, oh, what about the lineups? This is what the lineup looks like. This lineup, this guy's playing on a line with this guy. And I sit here and I just go, yes, O'Reilly is a Tampa Bay Lightning. I just sit here and I go, man, I don't know. I just think that this is a team that brings so much to the table. And I think that almost no matter which way you slice it, you're going to have a good group of forwards at least.
The forward group is excellent, top to bottom, no notes. I mean, every single one of them, I believe, are first round picks. I believe. Well, McKenna, no, but yeah, every single one of these guys are first round picks. You know, even Sam O'Reilly, I think, is a good guy to have around as a guy that can move around the lineup. Braden Coots, Cole Reshney. They have so many centers as well. Like, you'll find, if you can't find a mix that works with these guys, then they're a lot worse than I thought they were. But I think they're all really, really good players. Like, this is a team that should have no problem just absolutely deconstructing teams like Latvia and Germany. I see them pretty clearly ahead of the U.S. this year. And I mean, look, they're just really, really good. And I mean, whether or not McKenna is a major role player on this team this year, I think he will. They'll be playing him on the power play. That's an automatic decision, I would think. He's a guy where even if he isn't this like far and away elite top line, first overall, blow you away type player, they have so much there that like it just doesn't matter. Now with defense, I think that's a different story. I think Canada's defense group is solid, but not like super reliable, right? I mean, I have had issues in the past with guys like Perek, at times Reed, Verhoff, and I think that's actually it. In the defensive, and Aitchison in the defensive zone and on the rush. That has been the big question mark for me watching these guys. Even Brunick, like Brunick's a really solid skating guy who uses his skating really well defensively. But in terms of like battling back against some teams like the Czechs, who are going to be big and heavy and strong and attacking the middle of the ice, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, right? Ben Danford, I think, is pretty good in that area. But at the end of the day, like, we'll see what happens. I mean, Carson Carroll's on this team is an interesting one. I'll be very curious to see how he does in this tournament. I did not have that on my bingo card coming into this month, but here we are. At the end of the day, I think the Canadian team, there's not really much to say. They look great. They should be the best team in this tournament. They are bringing the best group of goaltenders I think they may have ever brought pound for pound. Carter George is spectacular in net by and large. He's been excellent internationally. He did his darndest last year. Jack Ivankovic, no slouch. And Joshua Ravensbergen, also no slouch. Like, this is not a joke. These guys are really, really good. So even if the defense group is kind of questionable, maybe in parts, those goaltenders, man, they'll do their job. They will probably be doing their job. They're not on home ice. You know, they'll be playing spoiler in Minnesota this year. That Canada-US game in the preliminary round is probably going to be insane, out of control, and I'm really excited to watch it. But, I mean, look, Canada, I think, should be a team that you never know. You never know. Sometimes they come out sleeping in their first game or something, and it makes their life way more difficult in the quarterfinal. You know, instead of playing a Switzerland, they play a Czech, you know, and does that happen again this year? I think it's impossible to tell. All it takes is one or two. All it takes is a bad game against the U.S., and it makes it way harder. All it takes is a bad game against Finland, and it makes it way harder. So, you know, if Canada just keeps their head on straight, you know, don't take penalties, don't get into penalty trouble, you know, capitalize on your power plays, then I think they're going to be fine. And, you know, you've got Dale Hunter coaching them, and he's an NHL-style coach, and I think that works just fine in this tournament, and they've got the talent to do it. I think they have more than enough to do it, and, you know, I'm biased. I'm Canadian, admittedly, but they're a pretty darn good team too. So all in all, though, an excellent group of teams for this year's group. I think it's gonna be a really, really great year. I can't wait. I really can't. I counting down the days. I'm really looking forward to a show Friday. My groups are mixed up with last year's. Oh, well, that changes things. I thought I did this. Well, okay, I will fix it. Either way, we'll do this again then. We'll take a look at the groups. Right. So you've got, so Slovakia, Switzerland, Sweden, USA, Germany. Right. Okay. Well, that changes things. But for Canada, yeah. Okay. So it is a possibility that Canada plays the Czech Republic it is an impossibility that they will play the Czechs in the quarterfinals this year. So that's a plus. The odds of them playing a Slovakia are decently high, I would say. So, Canada has a pretty easy road to a semifinal. But again, a bad game against the Czechs, a bad game against the Finns. You never know. So the same point holds. But yes, I will rearrange these. That does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because I did feel like they were a little too similar. So whoopsie doozy. You can't do everything right? Let's see. What do we got here? Sweden. The Czechs are in the other group. The U.S. is in the group with Sweden. Slovakia is there still. Switzerland is there still. Right. So, yeah, Denmark is going to play Canada. So, you know what? Gavin McKenna might score 10 points against Denmark, and then the debate will be over. It'll be, you can call it a day. It's, he's back. But anyway, all right, now I have the groups ordered properly here. Thank you for the heads up, because that would have been silly. Okay. On that note, it's going to be fun. So, if you want access to the spreadsheet or the write-up, you can definitely go to Scouching.ca, get a subscription, it's a good time. Get access to our Discord server as well, data tools that are going to be updated. Sorry, a piece of fish just came out of a tooth, and now I'm all thrown off. Oops. But yeah, honestly, if you ask me who the MVP is going to be, I don't know. I think there's a lot of contenders. I don't think McKenna's a shoe-in. I don't know. And it also depends on which teams go really, really deep. But I mean, I could see like a Michael Misa or Porter Martone or maybe those guys really making a good hard push. Carter George, if he's the guy in net. Anton Frondel, Victor Eklund. I mean, it depends on how far they go, obviously. But I honestly don't know. I don't think it's Canada on paper is the best team to me, but I don't think it's a done deal anywhere beyond that. I think the only thing you can really reliably predict is that Denmark will get relegated. If they don't, boy, that would be a heck of a relegation game to watch. So I will be paying attention to that one. All right. So let's catch up on the chat here. Let's do it. Let's catch up. Because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the NHL as well, and I'm sure people want to talk about that. So, whatever you want to talk about, throw it in the chat. It's Christmas, so have some fun. That's the whole point. Okay. Thoughts on Naudens and Neuenschwander. So Naudens I have much less experience with. I've seen a little bit of him. It's really hard because he's so big at the prep school level. I would love to see him in the USHL or something and see what he can do there. So I can't really give you a detailed write-up on that. Neuenschwander is a pretty intriguing, big, skilled guy. He's a powerful skater. I wouldn't say he's like a flashy player, really, but he does have strength beyond his years. He's wired the right way in terms of attacking good spots on the ice. It's not a surprise as to how a guy like that is playing in the National League already at 16 years old, played a bit last year as a 15-year-old. I mean, I'm not totally sold on the idea of him being automatically a threat to go first overall last year because of where he's at. But I do think he's a solid player who will play a major role on this roster. And it'll be really intriguing to see what he can do. I mean, it's his second tournament already. He'll be one of the rare players who's been to 3 World Juniors before he's draft eligible. Oh yeah, Fisher is too old for the U.S. Oh man. I mean, I should have checked these before showing them, but I was not feeling well earlier today, so I went and had a nap, and I feel much better. So, nap and feel better, do a better show, proofread, and scramble at the end. I think I would rather take the former, unfortunately, for AJ. So, but yeah, Neuenschwander, interesting player. I think he'll be a leading guy up front for Switzerland this year. I just don't know if he's gonna be this holy crap, next year's draft is loaded type. But we'll see. I mean, he's going back to play junior hockey, so I feel like he will have a lot of fun. Is there a decent chance Bundgaard gets drafted? I don't think so. I mean, he's a re-entry, half a point a game Swedish Junior Hockey League player. Like, he's big, and I think he's an okay skater. He's got a bit of a physicality edge to him. He's got a pretty decent shot as well. But I just, last year watching him a lot, it's like not much. He wasn't a very active player. He wasn't very involved in play enough, and just handling the puck through traffic and handling the puck in general, and just being a reliable puck handling player, which is kind of what he's. Denmark's going to need guys like that. I'm not sure he sort of crosses that bridge. I mean, he's going to play a lot. I think for Denmark, they're going to play him a lot. I just don't know if I would put him on the list as a draft eligible guy that I would look at. Again, it's like, when is he the best guy on your list? Especially as a re-entry, and I don't really know. But I think at this tournament, though, he could be a solid player. Definitely is going to be a big, big, big job for him playing for the Danes at this year's tournament for sure. I'm going to Sweden, Slovakia on the 26th. Oh, wow. Never been to a World Junior game, so I'm looking forward to it. It's a riot, man. It's so much fun. I went to a few last year. Went to Canada, US New Year's Eve with my family. Went to a quarterfinal game. Was it? No, semifinal? I don't remember. What was it? I went to a different game. It was the US and someone else. And we were in Ottawa. We were sitting in that fancy suite area in the lower bowl. That was a lot of fun. Except for the fact that the closet only had one hanger in it. That was a little weird. It's like there's space for like 15 people in here. It's the middle of winter. You have one hanger. Strange. But nonetheless, it was fun. But then I did the relegation game. I went to the bronze medal game it was the semifinal between Finland and Sweden. I considered going to the gold medal game, but I did not. But I went to the relegation game, and that was honestly a lot of fun. The relegation game was a hoot. I think I paid like $20 for front row seats, and it was so much fun. Like, it was just so much fun. The Kazakhs, they put up a good fight. At one point they were winning. They got into penalty trouble at the end of the game, and against a team like even Germany, that was it. It was over. The Kazakhs barely by the skin of their teeth could have stayed in, but it wasn't meant to be, and they will not be back for 2027, unfortunately. The team that probably should be there this year in the main tournament in Norway, the Norwegians are there next year, and they've got a pretty decent looking group for next year, honestly. It's just a shame because it would have been really, really fun to see them this year. And yeah, Norway could put together a really fun team if they were here this year. They had a really fun team at the Division 1A, right? Let's see. Flash score. We'll go to the hockey section. I don't know why it defaults to soccer still. International. World Juniors 1A. Yeah, I mean, Norway did have a lot of, they scored 37 goals in 5 games, right? Like, this is a team that should be here, but they're not because they did not show up last year. France got relegated, for the record. But Norway, yeah, I mean, the guys on that team, if I remember correctly, guys like Mikkel Eriksson and Tinus Koblar, all will be back next year. Who's the other one? Oh no, Stralma Vatne won't be there. But yeah, Koblar, Eriksson, Aram Olsen will be there next year. Their goaltenders, they've got 2 goaltenders probably who will be there that are pretty darn good. Felix, what's his name? He was at the under-18s last year. He's a Vekwa guy. He was pretty good for them last year. They had a 2009 on the under-20 team this year. I don't think he played any games, but he was there. So there's that. Yeah, he didn't play. But they're going to have a young group of goaltenders for next year. And yeah, Aram Olsen, Eriksson, Koblar. Yeah. Kasper Schulman is one that I also think is a decent player. He was pretty good at the under 18s, even though he didn't play a ton. But yeah, Casper Schulman, he's a 2008 as well. He'll probably be there. Felix Timras Weston, that's the one. He is eligible for next year. He's November 2008. He's also 6'6". I'm surprised he wasn't on the under 20 team this season, but I don't know if there's a story there or what. But he was good at the under 18s last year. So yeah, Norway should be in this tournament. But next year, I would argue their best players on the team this year will be back next year. I don't think that's too controversial to say, considering Aram Olsen was their leading scorer. They had 5 guys with 10 points. And at least 3 of them can come back. Yeah, 3 of them. Aram Olsen, Koblar, Eriksson. And so that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see those guys. And they have some under 18 guys that'll probably be pretty decent showings as well. Carols has been getting a lot of hype leading into the tournament. What are your thoughts on him, and can you see him jumping up your board a bit with a good showing? It depends. I mean, yes, I would say. I have a lot of room for him to go up my board. I think with him, it's like he's one of these guys where individually, in individual moments, he's definitely a guy that shows certainly very, very high grade tools. But in terms of playing an all-around defenseman's game, that's where the big question mark comes to me. Like, how does he defend the rush? How does he close gaps? How does he clear the front of the net? How does he do that at a high level? Because, as a rush offensive defenseman and a guy who can attack the half wall and get deep into the offensive zone, there's no concerns for me about that with him, right? Like, that's the fun part of his game that's already there. He's very good at it. So yeah, I mean, I think there is room for him to move up my board. I'm certainly not against him being quite a bit higher. It's just like there's also a lot of other guys in this group. It's like I look at my board. I'm looking at it now, and I look up and I go, okay, I have Carols there. Yeah, I probably could have him at least 3, 4, 5 spots higher based on what I've seen of the other guys. And then it's like, but then the guys ahead of that, right? Like, I don't know. I know Victor Plant's not there, but I love him. I think he's great and super, super annoying. Nemec, I could see him ahead of Nemec as well, but Nemec is really smart and really, really capable. Novotny might be a bit of a Carols-esque style forward. Maybe not obviously not similar, but like in terms of how I feel about them, like, and what I'm looking for out of them, it could be similar. Same thing with Hermansson. But above that point, like top 20 is not out of the question for me at the end of the tournament. But I just feel like from 6 through Carols 28, it's real close. And, I think this tournament will help, but I'm trying not to think about it too much until I see what he does. Who scores the golden goal? Carter George. No. The golden goal. You know what? I want to see Michael Hage do it. You leave him off the team last year. The team can't score a goal. They come this year when a bunch of guys are coming from the NCAA. You can't ignore the NCAA guys anymore because there are just too many of them. He comes and scores the golden goal. I would love to see that. Cole Reshny too would be fun. Just because I feel like he would earn it. Porter Martone would be an obvious fun choice too, but realistically speaking, I'd love to see Michael Hage do it, even if he isn't like the most incredible goal scorer. He's been pretty good this year, and I'd like to see him. That would be fun. Like to see him do it. Barkey Unleashed, yes. Denver Barkey, NHL forward. Notable first round pick on the Scouching board 2023. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever shared my 2023 board because that's when I left. Who will lead Sweden in scoring? Stenberg or McKenna? That's a good one. That was funny. Oh man, you got to feel bad for him, right? Like you just kind of have to laugh that one off. That was nuts. If you didn't know, McKenna scored his goal on his own net. But anyway, yeah, like 2023. Denver Barkey was in my first round. And let's see here. Can I do this? Yes, let's do this. Yeah, like this was my 2023 list. Obviously looking back, there's some of it that I feel shame about, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, it feels like a lot of them are pretty good. You know, I really, really, really liked Denver Barkey that season. Same with Luca Pinelli. That's why they're at the top of that tier. Just a really, really impressive player. Just a guy that I think you win with, and that is valuable to me, obviously. You know, so yeah, for him to go into the NHL, I mean, it's a little faster than I expected, but I'm all for it because, as they say in my parts, if it makes me look smart, I agree with it, you know, and in his case, it makes me look smart because I remember there was a person who laughed at me when I said that him and Luca Pinelli were more impressive to me as prospects than Colby Barlow. Like, someone laughed in my face. And I was like, okay. And obviously it's not over, right? These guys aren't done developing. Denver Barkey might have played his last NHL game for all I know. And Luca Pinelli, same. But they're both in the NHL, and the other guy is not. But you never know. I mean, Winnipeg is also not the same as Columbus, or even Philadelphia for that matter. But Denver Barkey, man, doing his thing. The Philadelphia Flyers in general, man, like, things are going all right, I think, right? Are they? I should check before I wreck. Yeah, things are going all right for Philadelphia. Maybe not so much lately, but second in your division. You can't do much better than that. Well, you could do one better, but I would say one isn't much. Yes, I know Michael Hage was a good answer. Half the reason I said it was because of you, David. I know you're feeling down from the top video games that YouTube said you watched this past year. I know I am too. I feel the same way. Mine was nonsense. I think it said like RuneScape, but that's only because I listen to the RuneScape soundtrack like once a week. You know, like my YouTube Wrapped for music is just complete nonsense because, you know, I'm sitting here listening to like Age of Empires soundtracks, you know, RuneScape soundtracks, Skyrim, all kinds of those sort of things, because it's like that scene from Rick and Morty where Jerry's in the car and the aliens have taken over the world and they start playing human music through the speakers, and he's like, you know, human music. Like, I could listen when the music plays in that scene, I could listen to that all day, you know, and just work. That's how my brain works. I'm not sure what disorder that would be called in the guide that they have, the psychological guide of disorders or whatever it's called. But half the reason I did throw Hage out there was for you, but I do legitimately think that there's a pretty good chance he's a hero at some point. How does McKenna's blue line tracking compare to Hagen's last year? Good question. All right, so let's do this. I'll pull up McKenna's profile. Now, granted, I must say, McKenna's a pretty low sample because he just hasn't played as much. But Hagen's... sorry, I just got to find the right link because I have an archive here because I've been working with it for the site today. Bear with me. Here it is. And I will pull up Hagen's. Here we go. All right. So here we go. Here it is. Yes, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That's the one, the DSM. Maybe you can help me out and tell me what I've got there. So here's Hagen's, but we'll start with McKenna. So McKenna, again, I haven't got a full data set on him really, and I'm not super comfortable with where it is, but by and large, like, this is kind of where it shakes out for me, in terms of like what he is as a player and like what he brings to the table, and maybe some areas where he might need some work. You know, and you can tell, like, once the puck is on his stick and out of the defensive zone, he is a staggeringly good hockey player. It's just the fact that, like, he's not very involved in that first part of the game, which, depending on who you ask, is a bit of a problematic part of it, right? Especially if you're talking the best player available, right? Like, what is your definition of the word best does a lot of legwork here. But at the end of the day, like, in transition is what you specifically asked for. I mean, and so far you're looking at a guy who is, I mean, his reception preference is pretty high. This is like catching passes in the neutral zone. So almost half of the time he's catching passes either in the neutral zone or entering the offensive zone. So not really driving it himself, but doing a pretty good job receiving them. 71% is pretty good. The carries are a little bit surprising. I think that improves between now and the end of the season because 83% seems quite low. Usually guys are a lot higher than that, but he also doesn't do it a whole lot, so it just might be a low sample. But he's a really good passer in transition. Like all in all, a 75% in the NCAA is really, really good. The problems with McKenna are not in this area, right? They're not here, and they're not here really. They are here, which is defensive, like dangerous shots against. He's driving a lot of offense, but for every shot attempt in scoring areas that has been taken when he's been on the ice in the games I've done, one has been taken in his own end. But his shot assist rates and passing percentages are insane. And then the defense, like his shot selection isn't great. He's not getting to scoring areas a ton, but he's not wasting a bunch of his shots. He's just also not shooting a ton. And in defensive transition situations, he's involved quite a lot, it seems, but not super successful, right? He has thrown 0 hits. He's a very position heavy defensive player, and his results are not amazing. His stick checking results are poor. I would say a lot of that is being flat footed and all that. But again, like that's not why you're drafting him. And the offensive zone turnovers, that's like forechecking and everything. Like he's very, very good at that because he is a smart guy. Like that's the thing. Like once the table is set for a guy like McKenna, he feasts, right? He's Baron Harkonnen, right? He'll eat all of the food at the table before he takes out the Duke of the House Atreides. Anyway, so here's Hagens. Hagens is a little different. In some areas, a little less impressive. In some areas, more promising. Obviously, and you're talking about transition specifically. So both players are kind of not amazing in terms of their defensive abilities in transition. Their shot selection is oddly similar. Hagens shoots the puck a little bit more in the sample, but again, this is still early for McKenna. But in terms of offensive transitions, I'd say it's comparable. Again, Hagens also very reliant on receptions. His carry percentage is a little bit better and a lot more common than McKenna. His passing is a little worse, but a little less common. This is more of, I would say, like a carry first, skill first possession guy. He doesn't pass the puck nearly as much, at least in McKenna's sample so far. He has him beat by about 25%, which is pretty high. But Hagens had some good offensive zone turnovers, and Hagens, his physical play has also been was definitely there down the stretch of the season. So there was definitely a lot more oomph in Hagens' game, but in terms of actual results and driving, scoring, and all of that, McKenna beats him. But defensively, I think I would trust Hagens quite a lot more. Okay. I just wrote on EP. Michael Pradell is pretty big. Does Jarmo win GM of the year if the Sabres make the playoffs and he ends up making 0 moves? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's like firing a guy, giving yourself the job, or a guy above your buddy getting fired and you taking his job and you do nothing and the team gets better. I mean, that doesn't sound like you did anything, right? Like, why are you getting the award, right? Like, that's the thing about the Buffalo thing that's a little strange to me, is they weren't very far out of a playoff spot. Like, obviously, Kevin Adams, I don't know. I've never met the guy, but I think he gets a pretty bad rap. And all things considered, like, in the situation he's in, I mean, the team was doing okay. Like, look, if like the thing that blows my, like, if Kevin Adams, can be fired when you're a couple points out of a playoff spot, and you've got other GMs in the league overseeing some absolute disasters, right? Like the Vancouver Canucks, obviously, losing Quinn Hughes is awful, and I think that overseeing an era of the team where you had a guy like that and then you basically were told to move, like he said, I don't want to be here anymore because we're losing, that probably is grounds to like go in a different direction for that job. But that being said, like the fact that they got what they got and all of those players have been as good as they've been for Vancouver, I don't think they've lost since they made that trade. You know, like so far so good. So far so good. You know, maybe that's what they needed to fix it. And at the end of the day, I mean, Minnesota also hasn't lost, so good for them. But also, like, I just look at what Vancouver is doing with those three guys that they added, and I go, I don't know if Bill Guerin knows what he gave up here, but, you know, you give up stuff for Quinn Hughes, of course, but Vancouver does look like a much different team now. We'll see what happens when the injuries start coming off. But anyway, like the thing is, like with Buffalo though, and like Toronto, right? Like look at what's going on in Toronto, right? Brad Treliving is still there. I mean, they fired Mark Savard. Maybe that's the thing about Toronto. You know, that's if you look at Kevin Adams getting fired and go, Buffalo was only a couple of points out of a playoff spot, so what's the big deal? You can look at Toronto and go, oh yeah, like it's a disaster, but like they do have the second most or third most even strength goals in the league. And their power play is horrendous. And if Mark Savard was the guy responsible for that power play and swapping him out is the right move, and that power play becomes for the rest of the year league average, top 10 in the league, I don't know, maybe. Do I think that's likely? But like maybe. Then great. That might really help them out. Does it help with them getting outshot to the gills every night? I don't know. Maybe. Like they'll get more shots on a power play, I suppose. But at the end of the day, that's kind of a similar story where it's like, it's not that the entire thing is a complete and total nightmare. It's just like 80% of the way there. It's just maybe the power play getting better will spark something. So for Buffalo, it's like, well, yeah, you fired the guy, but like they were doing okay. They were right in the playoff hunt. So like you may as well have, you know, like was there a reason for this outside of like, well, we think we should be better than mediocre by now, so we're going to bring in, you know, Kekalainen and Bergevin and whatever, like and emulate the Columbus Blue Jackets? Like, all right. Go nuts. I don't know. All the best to the Buffalo Sabres, though, because that city deserves a good hockey team. And if that's what it took, then that's what it took, and I don't care. And I don't think Sabres fans care either. You know, ride the waves of change, sail the seas of cheese. Sail the seas of cheese all the way to the playoffs and do the thing, because Buffalo deserves it. It's been a long time. I don't see the high-end skill. I don't know what that means. Yes, it's always AJ's fault, everything. What's your favorite Christmas dinner dish not including stuffing? I feel like you asked this last year and I said stuffing, so maybe that's why you're giving that that condition on that. The favorite food for Christmas outside of stuffing. I don't know if this is a thing everyone does. It must be. But every year, at least since the pandemic, most years, I think, since I've lived in a house, you know, and had a big kitchen, big, you know, bigger than an apartment kitchen. I've made a coffee cake, and like coffee cake on Christmas morning, like honestly, like if I found myself unable to like financially secure myself and never like a presence and the gift side of things was like just like if I had what some would say like the most miserable Christmas ever, you know, I was alone, let's say I'm in you know, Namibia maybe, and I'm doing work and my family's far away, and I had to be there for Christmas, and I'm all on my own, and I wake up on Christmas morning. If I have access to a piece of coffee cake, I think the rest is I'm good. You know, I love my family dearly. I love my partner dearly. But if I'm in Namibia doing work on Christmas Day and I eat a piece of coffee cake, whew, the bad stuff goes away. I'm a huge coffee cake guy, and I try to make my own because it's not actually that hard. And you realize how insanely gross it is when you make one in terms of what goes into one. But I don't care. It's too good. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, unless you're if you want to like focus on the dinners, I will say this too, and this pisses off AJ, but it doesn't matter because he's not here. We're not a big turkey family. We did the turkey thing growing up and all that, and every year, Big Bird, not literally Big Bird, but like Big Bird, it was fine. But like, I think we all had a conversation at one point where my dad was like, can we do something else? I don't like turkeys are a lot of work. Like, can we try something else this year? Does anyone care? And all of us were kind of like, nah. And I think he did like lamb, like a rack of lamb type deal, like something really nice and like small, but like worth it. And it was awesome. He nailed it. And it was really, really good. And ever since then, it's been kind of like a nice roast beef or ham of some kind, like real old school Grinch stole Christmas style, type Christmas dinners rather than just turkey, which I really like as well. So like, I think the thing about Christmas dinner, at least in my life, that I really like is that every year seems to be something slightly different. And I don't usually buy like really nice cuts of meat. Like this household, we're a chicken thigh, fish, and like pork chops, sausages style house, pretty simple. We both are leading busy lives. So simple dinners. And so we don't really eat a lot of red meat. Also, it's extraordinarily expensive, at least here in Canada. So, in the winter and Christmas time, going like, you know what? I'll buy that sirloin roast from Costco, or even, one of these days I want to try doing a brisket, like a Christmas brisket of some kind would be really fun. I've never done it before, but I certainly would like to try. But we're not quite there yet. We have a good amount of Scouching subscribers over on the site, but not quite enough for the brisket. But maybe 2029, maybe that's the trajectory that we're on at that point. Maybe we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I know that's not a good answer to your question. The easy answer for me is easily coffee cake. I mean, it's not I guess a dessert, you eat a coffee cake for dessert. But I honestly, legitimately, you put an entire coffee cake in front of me, I probably could eat the whole thing. Like, I don't know what it is psychologically. Again, you got to get the DSM out, but psychologically speaking, there like a brainwave shuts off if I see a coffee cake. Same thing with like a cherry pie. Like the brainwave of like you need to stop eating because you're gonna die just turns off. It's just like the flap opens, the valve opens, and it's just like nom 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 nom. I don't know what it is. And that doesn't happen with a whole lot of foods, but that definitely is one. The fish pasta I made, the empty plate is now on the floor next to me, or the empty bowl. That may not be a Christmas meal, but really good, like Italian Christmas maybe, really good. But anyway. Wait a minute. Wait, Santa isn't real? When did you realize Santa isn't real? Whew, boy. Well, there goes 35 years of my life living in sin. When did I realize Santa wasn't real? I mean, I think I kind of figured it out. If I remember correctly. Like, I might have been 10. maybe 11. Definitely not older than that. I was definitely not, because my life as a child is split in half between my Montessori education until grade 6 and my normal school education from 7 until 12. And I definitely did not think Santa was a thing when I was in middle school. Before that, though, entirely possible. And I think I kind of figured it out. And once I got to a certain age, I snooped. I snooped. And in our old house back in those days, I think what did it was we had a basement bathroom that was like half finished. It was kind of grody and weird, and nobody went in there. It was one of those. I'm sure some of you have something like that. It's like a grody old bathroom that nobody touches and whatever. But my sister and I's playroom was down there, and we, you know, had a little room to ourselves and all that stuff. And so sometimes we would use it. And it's like one of those things where 24/7 the shower curtain was pulled and you never asked any questions because you would never shower in there. My parents had their own bathroom in their bedroom, and my sister and I shared a bathroom on the same floor. So we never went down there to do anything in terms of showering or anything, right? So nobody used it. And I think at one point around Christmas, I just went, I'm gonna look around. And then when I pulled back the shower curtain, the proverbial shower curtain and the literal shower curtain, there it was. I found the stash. And no one told me never to look behind there, but I think that would probably have given it away for sure. But behind that curtain was wrapping paper I absolutely recognized, and that was when I kind of was like, okay, yeah. And then the weird thing is in my family, like, maybe this is my Montessori education, but a lot of the time between at least me and my parents, we all kind of just figured stuff out. Like, we didn't really like. You know, my parents never sat me down and said, okay, son, like, Santa, not real. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, he's not real, son. Like, no, they never did that. I just kind of, like, at some point they just went, you do know it's not real. And I go, oh, yeah, I kind of figured. They're like, okay, you know, I'm sorry if there are any children watching this. I really am sorry. Santa is real. It's just, the thing is, excuse me. The thing is about Santa is it's not that he's not real. It's just that when you start to think that he isn't, your brain automatically, like, you know, the brainwave I was talking about where the valve opens and you can eat as much pie and coffee cake as you want. The valve of like Santa Claus being allowed to exist in your universe is gone. But like Santa does exist in your universe if you're a child, right? And think about it this way. And stay with me, right? There are more dimensions to the universe than the 3 that we understand, right? I saw Interstellar, and that is a fact that there are more dimensions out there, or at least probably a fact. It's well theorized. And there is no evidence. There is no evidence out there that does not say that in some way, shape, or form, there is a Santa Claus, right? And maybe this is true. There is a Santa Claus out there who traverses through the dimensions, has omnipotent power to travel through time and different realities, you know, like you go up more dimensions and it's like, well, you could go different directions in the, you know, in time and, you know, different pathways and all that stuff, and you can jump from, you know, so I feel like Santa just jumps from universe to universe and can go and go, okay, once you stop believing, you know, that's, you know, whatever, you don't get the experience anymore. But for children, he's definitely still, you know, present in their universe, so to speak, and puts the events in motion where the presents end up under your tree. That's what I believe, you know. Past a certain point, he just stops showing up because he goes, you know what, you've had your fun. You know, and that happens at different times for everybody. And you come to that conclusion on your own, you know. It's just the way she goes. So kids, he is real, but it's not in the same way as you might think, right? It's something a little bit, you'll find out about it when you're older, I guess is what I'm saying. So like there might be an initial shock of like, oh my God, my life is a lie. But it's not. It's a metaphysical thing, So yeah, it's a metaphysical thing, honestly. Has Mowgli been injured this year? Yes, he has been injured. All right, we're catching up pretty quick here. Could Sweden run into scoring issues? I don't think so. I mean, you've got Frondell, who will probably score a lot of goals. You have who else? You've got a lot of guys, I think, who can score. Score. Sweet. Eddie Enborg can get some greasy ones in front. You could make the same argument for a Loke Krantz. Yastreen and Pedersen can shoot the puck. Victor Eklund only has 1 goal this year, but he's got a really good shot on him as well. That could be scary. Oh my God. I don't think they have concerns about scoring goals. Looking up and down this roster, I don't think you're going to get many goals from their defensemen, but what's the point of a defenseman that can score goals, eh? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Couldn't Norway we did that. Okay, yes, they could put a fun. Norway should be in this tournament. It's sad that they're not. Who will lead to, oh my God, man, I keep rereading the same stuff. Make a terrifying Photoshop of a palm tree growing off of Adams's head. Well, with the way that quantum computing stocks are going against my wishes, I can't afford Photoshop, unfortunately. D-Wave, a company I'm pretty sure is a complete scam, announced they're going to be going to CES in January, and apparently that's enough for people to go, you know what, I'm gonna buy a company that's valued at $10 billion that makes like $1 million a quarter. I'm gonna do that now, because that's the world we're in. But playing the long game on that one, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe then if things go the way that I hope they go for certain groups of people, as dark as that sounds, then yes, we will have Photoshops. We will be able to make some fun stuff. At least Canva. We'll go for at least a Canva subscription. But for now, I got to do what I got to do. Got to survive. Russia's team could be gross if they were here. We need Russia back. I know. I agree. I think Russia, it's not the same, really, without them. Like the Russian team, I don't think the Russian team this year would be particularly like a huge threat outside of probably a net. But I don't know, man. There are things out there bigger than hockey. And I also would, I don't know, consider like reading about why this is such a big deal, and not just because of the events transpiring that everybody knows about. I mean, like historically speaking, like why Finland might be extremely upset about the prospect of, a badly behaving Russian government kind of not really paying the price for it, and sort of being tolerated, or the Czechs, or Polish folks, there is a long history there of, let's just say, issues that, let's just say, left a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of people. And, Germany. So I think at the end of the day, I would love to see Russia come back. I would absolutely. But, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. At least not yet. Which of the 09s would you put on that Russia team? Ooh. I don't know, but now you have me thinking. It's a good question. You get a gold star. Like, I mean, Privalov would be there for sure. Privalov would be there. Sorry, I got to pull up because I don't have a 2000. Like I don't have a tracking document for next year yet. I usually don't build those until like April when I'm really bored. But Ivan Fomin still leading the league in scoring. Atta boy. Oh, for crying out loud! I dropped my fidget pen. Okay, so I'm not signed in on the right account here. Okay. I'm sorry, this is taking a while. I am signed in on this account, so there we go. Or on this browser. I have like 4 web browsers now, all for different purposes, and it drives me nuts. I don't know why I did it. And 09s, right? That's what was asked. I mean, Privalov would be on that list. Skvortsov, yes, I could see that. Stirkunov, perhaps. And that might be it. As much as I love Roman Kozhevnikov, I feel like Russia would be able to build something. I mean, maybe as a bottom 6 spare guy, he could do it. Wow, there's a damn. Vladislav Chapayev, a 2009 goaltender, has faced 286 shots in 412 minutes. That seems like a lot. Another guy has faced 480 in 764 minutes. That is pretty nuts. Yeah, there's a goaltender too. Is it Kazantsev? Yakov Kazantsev, who's really, really good? Yeah, I think it is him. He's a good hockey player as well. But yeah, what about 2008s? Or, yeah, I don't know about which 2008s would be there. I mean, Fyodorov, Pugachev. I could see those guys there. They could put together a pretty decent team, though. 2007s, but yeah, like I don't think they're like they'd be like a huge threat to like win the whole thing. But again, you never count out the Russians. The thing I do miss about the Russians is how predictably fun they were. Skilled all the time. They don't care if they gave up 50 shots. They had a good goaltender almost all the time. So yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a good team, but I think there are bigger things at play. Which of the 09? Oh, we did that again. The IHF moved an entire tournament to make sure Israel could play, get them out, or bring Russia back. I mean, look, I think those two things are a little different in the sense of like Russia and hockey are politically intertwined. It is a bit different. And a lot of hockey playing nations at the highest level for the IIHF are bordering Russia. And it is a very scary time to be on a border with Russia right now, right? Granted, like, I'm not excusing the actions of what you're talking about whatsoever. But in terms of strictly speaking from the IIHS perspective about the sport that we're talking about on this show, I think that one is a significantly bigger issue with significantly bigger political stakes than the other, right? I personally may or may not agree with you on that, right? Like, sure, right? Like, if we're going to hold the standards of one country to the next as a black and white thing, then fair enough, right? Fair enough. I may not disagree. But I think it's a lot more complicated than it's like, well, this happened here, so it should be the same because this happened here, right? Like, I don't think it's quite the same thing. Like, you have one of the largest, most powerful countries in the world invading another one, and on the border with a lot of other major global nation states that are also happen to be quite good at this sport. And they also have a very long history with these people that goes way beyond just the last few years, right? I don't know. It's not an easy discussion, right? It's not easy. I'm not saying, but it seems to me that the hockey and Russia are very, very different to hockey and Israel. It's a totally different ball game, in my opinion. I think that from the IIHF's perspective, one was done for this, especially because I think it was a junior tournament you're talking about. I think that for junior players, it's one thing for them because it's well, we just want to make sure that they're safe, right? It's out of an abundance of caution for the safety of the players, right? It's not, so it's obviously I have sympathy for Russian hockey players. I think it's unfair to them that Russian hockey players don't get to play in these tournaments. I agree 100% with that. But my thing is that this whole thing is bigger than just what's right in terms of the feelings of athletes. The whole point is to make it uncomfortable for the athletes. That's the whole point of all of this, right? Instead of going to war, it's let's apply political pressure. Let's try to steer things in the right direction. So when it comes to hockey and everything where everybody says, keep politics out of sports. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's impossible, especially in international sports. They are international. It's literally impossible. So on some level, these things have to be considered. It is possible to feel differently in the same topic, right? I have empathy for the players, but one phone call tomorrow, the whole thing in Ukraine could be over. With one phone call from the person who started it, it could be over. And who knows? Maybe the IIHF, if they wanted to turn over a new leaf and go, what can we do to get back onto the world stage here? Because we want to do this hockey thing again. If they could do that. The Ukraine doesn't have that option. The Ukraine's option is, okay, we'll give you half our country and demilitarize. That's not an option. The bigger power has the better option, or the more, the option you can ask more and realistically say, okay, you don't want to do that? All right, fine. We'll keep ostracizing you, right? So to me, it's at the end of the day, I hope for the sake of everybody involved, right? Except maybe the Russian government, but for everybody involved, Ukrainians, the Ukrainian people, Ukrainian hockey players, Russian hockey players, Belarusian hockey players. It sucks when politics gets in the way of sports, and it sucks when politics gets in the way of athletes just trying to live their lives. You know what I mean? It sucks. But life is bigger than hockey, unfortunately. As much as I would love it, life is bigger than hockey. Which Red Wings prospects will have the best tournament? Plant, Yenborg, Sverchek, Bear, or Prodell? All of them. They're all going to win MVP. I think you're going to see a lot of Sverchek. I think you're going to see a decent amount of Plant and Bear and Yenborg, and you're going to see a lot of Prodell. I think it depends on what you mean by best. In my opinion, I mean, of all of those players, the one that I've liked the most over the last 2 years is maybe Bear. But Sverchek is right there. I think Sverchek is going to have a fun time at this tournament. I hope he does. But if he doesn't, it's because I'll make up a reason. It's not because I'm dumb. It's because of, you got to make up a reason. It's never my fault. It's never me being dumb. Never. But Max Plant, he'll probably play quite a bit, but I don't know if he'll have the star power that some of the other guys on that team will have. But Prodell, if he steals a game or two, that could easily make him the best. Why do you think McKenna has issues with bobbling the puck at times? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking about it live, and it's really hard to think live. It's hard to think in general. It's your brain is complicated. It's hard to use your brain. But I do wonder, and I am not a skills coach, I must say. I'm not a skills coach. But I do wonder that if there is too much of a focus on the pure speed of a player's skill, if that makes sense, right? Like, how many times can you move the stick from one side of the puck to the other in a second? Is there a diminishing return to that? And at some point, do you start to go over the edge and go, yeah, but there, it's like, but then what about like actually playing, right? Like, what about the simpler stuff, like, does a focus on one thing cause underutilization, practically speaking? It's a big thing that I talk about all the time, which is practical skill, right? Like Ivar Stenberg, practical skill out the wazoo, right? That guy, under any circumstance, seems to be able to know how to get the puck to bounce right onto his stick, get through traffic, get around guys, whatever, but it feels like he consciously understands the situation that he is in and knows the pathway to get out, which I think is what makes him so valuable. McKenna is, I think, much more improvisational and much more creative, which is cool, and it's fun as heck when it works, but it kind of is very Stenberg is very reactive to everything going on around him to make a play of some kind. McKenna is very proactive, which is great, but like in terms of actual success repeated over and over and over again, especially in sort of those tighter areas situations, that's where I don't see as much there. But, like on a shootout, he'll dangle the crap out of you. I think it's an interesting thing that I think everybody needs to keep an eye on, and again, I'm not saying that I don't, McKenna's 5th on my list. He's a great player, but I think it's an interesting thing over the years to keep an eye on, of like these super high skill players, like elite level skill. And as they come into the NHL, like, I'm sure your favorite team has had or has a player on it who, when you see them in a shootout, you go, holy jumping crap, I can't believe he did that move, right? But he's a 50 point guy, right? I'm sure that you or your favorite team has had something like that, where you're blown away at their skill, right? You're blown away with their skill, but they're not one of the best players on your team. So it's like understanding how that's possible and why that might be is an important thing, I think. Not saying that McKenna's one of those. Again, I'm just saying that he's part of that like zeitgeist, and it's like there's things that might need to develop and evolve over time there. But if it does, holy crap, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm not super concerned about him, to be honest. I just think he's part of a mix of really, really good players in this class. Would you take Lawrence or Misa? Probably Misa. Like, I think Misa has a better feel for the game. Lawrence is much more of like a proactive, like, dictator of play. Whereas I think Misa is an extremely good sort of reader and reactor and distributor and all these things. Whereas Lawrence is much more of like an individually, like, fundamentally intense player on both sides of the puck, whereas Misa kind of wasn't that. So they kind of, if anything, like I think Lawrence kind of fills in some of the areas where Misa was a little deficient, and Misa fills in some of the areas where Lawrence might be a little deficient. But I probably lean Misa, but it's close. I think it's pretty close, but I lean Misa. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to call it. It's 10 o'clock Eastern time, I should say, the best time zone. Thanks very much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Again, if you're a subscriber to the site, you have access to my full World Junior preview post. It'll be out Boxing Day. We'll be doing a show as well, Boxing Day. We'll be watching some of the games together. I mean, obviously, I won't rebroadcast them, but we'll be hanging out and watching some games and having some fun. And having a good Boxing Day together. So with that out of the way, again, thanks very much. Consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca. It helps us out a ton. Billy wants brisket for Christmas next year. So let's make it happen. But thanks very much. Yeah, we'll see you Friday. Have a great holiday season if you're not having one already. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever, any other festive holiday going on. Hope you have a good one. Stay safe, stay well, have a good time. We'll see you Boxing Day. And man, I'm so pumped for the World Juniors. It's going to be so sick. Anyway, we'll see you then. Have a lovely one. Bye.